Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to show you how to pour a decent sized back patio. This also has a thickened footing all around the perimeter. Stay tuned till the end so you can see the entire process. Here we have an approximate 530 square feet of back patio area. And right here where you're looking at, it's about 50 lineal feet of, it's like a 12-inch wide by 12 inches thick concrete footing. And that footing, it's going to have 2 rebars included. And this is going to be all, for the edge due to the slope. So right here, we're using a pump to get all the concrete in here, especially because we have a little bit of a limited access. And we have one step right there that, comes out of the sliding door. And then we're starting to work, we have a little screed board right there that helps us pull any of the excess concrete back. And we're just using that to go from the level of the form board, all the way to the other side where it goes up against the house. And so right there we have the 2 gentlemen with their hand floats. We already had a string line, marked all through that foundation. So we're making sure that we have that, that concrete to match that string line. And right here we're starting to pour the concrete into the thickened footing. This corner right here, this is the thickest part of the concrete. So, we made sure we have several stakes and reinforcement there. So that way it holds all of that concrete in place. And the reason why we did a thickened footing is, as you can see, the slope, it kind of like jumps off right there. So we had to do that all around the perimeter. And so right here we have a longer screed board. We're just, since we already, passed our float through the area next to the foundation, we're using that as a reference point, and we're just sliding our screed board from that point and then all the way to the form that we have established on this other end. And we're just working, with that hand float right there, just around any pipes. There's like a downspout pipe, or there's also like a post, a beam right there. So we just have to also have our hand float ready. And immediately after we screed the concrete surface, then we run the bull float and our hand float just in all of the areas, around the post, around the edges, anywhere that is needed. There you see the bull float, going across the surface. So we run it this one way, and then we also run it the other way. So this is, the different direction that he's also just sliding that bull float across the surface. And this is how the result of how it looks after we ran the bull float a few times. You can tell right here the concrete is still pretty wet. It's pretty damp, moist on the surface. And so we also have a level. It's always good to have a level handy because, sometimes when you're pouring the concrete, maybe your string line or the chalk line that you had, you kind of lost track of it. So with the level, you can go ahead and place it right there, and you can see where the concrete is flowing, whether you have it level or you have the slope is going in the opposite direction. Since the concrete is so fresh, you can correct that issue right now. And it's best to do it now versus later. Once the concrete is drying and it's really hard, it's almost too late, to try to fix it then. So those are the little details, we're going over right now. Also right here, after we went with the bull float, then we're starting to run our edger all along the, along the form board. And then we're noticing right here, there's some low spots. So now is a perfect time to just get any of that excess concrete, put it into those areas, whether if it's in the center or along the edges. So right after that, we start running our Fresno trowel. That's what you see here, that's on the pole. So we'll go ahead and run that through the surface throughout. And that helps to just kind of seal the concrete and give us like a really smooth surface at the top. So that's something that we run after the bull float. So right here, we're going to do the same thing, just run it from one end all the way to the other in this direction. And then we're also going to do it in the other way, the opposite direction as well. So that way we can get them both sides. We'll run our float throughout everything. So, and as you can tell, we have a pretty long pole. It's always good to have these extra long, pole connectors. That way you can reach very, very far. And right here, this is the second half of the concrete. We actually had 2 trucks. So we have the, our guys over here working. We have a couple steps up. There's a step up right here. There's another step up over there. This area is kind of like a walkway next to the house. So this is going to connect to the driveway. So we have, a few of our guys here. One of them at the end is going with the bull float, waiting for everything to be done. The other guys are, as their concrete's being poured, they're screeding the concrete, making sure that the level is nice from one end to the other. And so this is the result. After all of that, you have the concrete right here. We just need to wait a little bit because at this point it's pretty wet. And since today it's kind of cloudy, it's kind of fresh, so it's going to take a little while for the concrete to dry a little further before we can continue to work it. You don't want to work it too much. Like right here, you can see it's kind of porous. You see like little divots and stuff on the surface. That means that the concrete is kind of having some, it's kind of porous right now. So it's still in the very early phases. And right here, after we wait a little bit of time, we're starting to work a little bit of the details on the steps. This is next to the driveway. We're just starting to run our edger and starting to remove some of the stakes that are into the concrete. So we're going to remove these metal stakes out of there, and we're going to go ahead and fill in those holes, that is left in the concrete. Very important to do those. At this point, we're just running our joint tool. And over here, this is one of the other steps that is coming out of one of the back entry doors. And the concrete is still pretty wet, still, very moist. One of our workers right there, David, went in with some sliders. And the concrete was just very, very, still pretty wet. So it was kind of sinking down a little bit. We just went in there to see because we had waited a decent amount of time. But it's amazing how long this concrete took to dry. So we just kind of fixed that area, refloated everything, and we're starting to run our joint tool again through all of the joints that we had initially created. So they look like this, nice and crisp. And we're just running doing a final pass on all of the edges, all of the joints, running our edging tool around everything. And at this point, it's getting very close to being able to do the broom finish. Actually, right here, we're starting to apply, the broom finish on the surface. Even though the concrete is still a little bit kind of on the fresh side, but it was still a perfect time where we can run our broom across the surface, so that way we can get that broom finish look. And it came out looking very nice. We have this special broom tool that it's connected to this pole, and I think we have about 3 poles attached to it because it's a pretty long area. That way we have plenty of reach. So we basically connect those 3 poles together, and then we have our broom attached. And right there, we're just throwing any of the excess cream, the concrete cream that gets attached to the broom. We just kind of like shake it off, so that way we can keep having that nice broom texture across the surface. But that's how you do it. You just kind of have to have it carefully, you know, take it all the way to one end, very close to the joint. And then from there, we just press it down lightly on the surface, and we just kind of drag it, pull it across, and it just gets that nice, you can tell right there, you know, the texture of the broom finish. So that's what we're gonna do. You know, we're just gonna run it on all the areas, and especially once it gets ready, you know, because some areas are still pretty wet, so we're waiting a little bit. But that's the result that you get. You get that really nice broom finish all across the surface. Gives it that nice grip, you know, that nice rough texture. Very, very good. So that's kind of the process from start to finish. Hope you like this video. We'll see you on the next one.